Yo, what's up? Welcome inside the opening line. Normally it's Corey and Benny, but I got my main man, Tyler Buecher, Fantasy Guru, EliteFantasy.com, filling in for Benny on this Overreaction Monday. Tyler, what's good with you, big homie?
What is going on, man? How was week 4 for you? I can't believe we're already 4 weeks into the season.
A quarter of the way into the season. Yesterday was a complete shit show. It was the the Sunday that I didn't want to see happen, particularly in my main league, my NFFC auction, $1,200 entry fee. I scored 80 points, and and when you're that invested in the league, Tyler, you never want to put up an 80.
Yeah, that just hurts your soul. Like you spend so much time and energy researching and trying to figure out the best way to get out those optimal lineups, and then everything you do just turns into duds. That pretty much encapsulates my entire week 4 as well. Across the board, DFS, fantasy lineups, sports betting was about the only thing that made me turn into a somewhat profitable week. But it was a rough week 4 where everything we thought would happen, the exact opposite did.
I was yesterday, as far as betting goes. Yesterday was about a break-even Sunday. Saturday, though, I was perfect on Saturday.
Nice.
Yeah, I was perfect on Saturday. I started off in the noon slate on Saturday. I hit a 3-team parlay with the 4 o'clock games on Saturday. Came back with a teaser and then threw down another parlay to end the night. But that luck did not carry over into Sunday. We had some interesting results. But I want to get in and start breaking some of these things down. And I want to start with one of the games that did come as a surprise, especially when you look at the final score. The Cleveland Browns going to Baltimore, put 40 on the Ravens. And they put this 40 up, but Odell has one catch for 3 yards.
Yeah, he was frustrating, man. Like, this was the one stack. I did a lot of 3 max entry tournaments, and one of them was a Baker Odell stack, and that came crashing down. Like, I thought they'd have some success passing here, and Baker did. He threw for 340 passing yards and threw for a touchdown. But I mean, the main reason why I wanted to play them was because I saw that the Baltimore Ravens, they were bottom 6 in pressure, and as far as like QB hurries.
Yeah,
So I thought Baker might actually have some time because he had been one of the worst quarterbacks entering the week as far as quarterbacks under pressure and their QB rating. So I thought this was a potential bounce back spot for him, but I did not envision Odell Beckham putting up such a dud.
Yeah, Jarvis Landry gets the big game, even though he's had a slow start to the season in the concussion protocol now. We also see RSJ, Ricky Seals-Jones, get in the end zone. On Cleveland side, though, the big game went to Nick Chubb. You being a Philadelphia guy, are you familiar with the Philly Godfather?
No, the Philly
Godfather is, I can't think of son's real name right now, but he's a big-time sports bettor out there in the Philadelphia area. And yesterday, he had put out, right before game time, that one of his sharper bettors had put a huge amount of money on Nick Chubb's over. And I tailed that, and it ended up coming to fruition. Nick Chubb going for 165 with his first real big game of the year.
Yeah, did you see that 88-yard run? The guy just completely outran every single defender on Baltimore. That was an unbelievable play. The one thing I don't understand, though, that Cleveland keeps doing is trying to like sub out Chubb during some of these red zone looks. Dontrell Hilliard got in for another red zone touchdown. It's really puzzling, like why they're not going all in on Chubb.
Yeah, no, that is interesting. Chubb obviously not worried about the 2-back system with him. Played with Sony Michel. Chubb really, when you look at his numbers, statistically, if it wasn't for that torn up knee, would have probably been one of the best running backs in college football history. I think he's a great NFL back too. That Browns offensive line to settle in. But one thing about him is he does break off these big runs. He had about 3 or 4 runs last year over 60 yards, and we see him pop off that 88-yarder. So really, I think he put up a 40-burger with those 3 touchdowns in some leagues. So big game for Nick Chubb. Lamar Jackson, the numbers are coming down a little bit. And, the offenses are looking impressive as it did the first 2 weeks. I'm still a big Jackson supporter, Tyler. But when you look at the game yesterday, he still got it done for fantasy.
Yeah, so, I mean, like the Ravens defense is really putting them in a tough spot. Over the last 2 games, their defense has allowed over 1,000 yards. That really just forces Lamar Jackson to try to go nuclear here with them facing the Browns and the Chiefs back-to-back. Not really ideal. So kind of
– next weekend.
What was that?
They go to Pittsburgh next weekend, so it should even out a little bit.
Yeah. I think they could put up some points here against Pittsburgh, but at least Lamar Jackson, I mean, we saw him get some rushing yards. That was nice to see, 66 rushing yards. Pairs well with those 3 passing touchdowns. Like you said, I'm still a big fan of Lamar Jackson as well. I think he's going to be an elite quarterback for the rest of the season. Schedule's really easy for them moving forward, I think. I think you just keep plugging away with Lamar Jackson as your QB1 if you have him.
Yeah, I agree. I'm not, like I said, at this point, it's really only Pat Mahomes and maybe a few every other week that I would start over Lamar Jackson. Just that upside, that threat is so tremendous. And like you see yesterday, what some could consider a down game, he still puts up over 30 fantasy points if you get 6 points for the passing touchdown. DC made the switch to Dwayne Haskins yesterday, and I was saying, listen, we see Carson Wentz, we see Dak Prescott. Now we got Daniel Jones, who I will never, ever refer to as Danny Dimes. So it's time for DC to get on board and make that switch to their young quarterback. And everybody and the coaching staff was like, I don't think so. He's not ready. But the fans were like, no, we got to see him because Case Keenum is not the answer. And guess what? Dwayne Haskins is not ready.
He did not look very sharp there. I think he had 3 picks. That was a game I watched in full already. And he just looked kind of lost out there. Like he had a wide open Vernon Davis in the red zone, overthrew him. They kind of didn't really do him any favors by putting him out there. It was such a large deficit without a full offensive line, without his top receiver, Terry McLaurin, who he played with in Ohio State. Just a rough start for him, but I don't know. If you can't get it done against the Giants defense, I don't know if you can get it done right now.
If you went out there and picked up Wayne Gallman, you got a good game from him yesterday, running and catching the football, touchdowns on both sides of it. So the Wayne Gallman owners have to be satisfied so far with their investment off the waiver wire for Saquon Barkley. Danny Dimes throws 2 picks and one touchdown yesterday. Really impressed, though, with the work of Sterling Shepard, 7 for 76. Glad to see him get back out there. I am invested in him in a couple of leagues.
Yeah, I agree. The passing game looks sharp. There were some rough interceptions there for Daniel Jones, but I mean, he's a rookie. We'll have that. He'll still have the good passing outings. And the good thing about it is we know where the targets are going. They're going to Sterling Shepard, Evan Ingram, and checkdowns to Wayne Gallman. That's a pretty concentrated offense, which is good for fantasy.
Tyler, something me and Benny talk about all the times. As guys in sports bet and stuff like that, we like to stay out the way of money burners. Or when we recognize and locate a money burner, we know to go on the opposite side of them. And for about a year now, I've been telling people that the Atlanta Falcons are the biggest money burners in all of pro sports. You can make a killing betting against the Atlanta Falcons. As a matter of fact, the worst professional teams versus the spread are the Los Angeles Lakers, the Golden State Warriors, and the Atlanta Falcons. But the Atlanta Falcons are Dan Quinn. Since this season started, including preseason, he's 1-7 against the spread. The Falcons don't cover the spread ever. This is a team that has a lot of talent on it, but it's going to be wholesale changes to this coaching staff. It's just a matter of Dan Quinn can make it through the season.
Yeah, I made 3 stands this week for DFS. I was going to go all in on the Falcons passing offense, the Chiefs, and the Texans. I'm wearing my Never Julio shirt because of the goose egg the Falcons did there. It was a tough week for me because what Matt Ryan did, he threw for almost 400 passing yards, which is he excels at home in the dome. But it all went to Austin Hooper. It all went to Mohamed Sanu. It all went to Devonta Freeman. I think Julio Jones and Calvin Ridley were held together under 100 receiving yards. It was just a rough outing for those 2 guys and many people have a lot of invested in.
Yeah, no doubt. Be wary of the Titans, too. The Titans are very good on the road, and they play very good outside of the conference. They match up very well versus NFC teams. So keep a close eye on the Titans. Right quick on Atlanta. Austin Hooper. If you have Travis Kelce, if you have Mark Andrews, if you got one of the bigger tight ends and you rostered Austin Hooper a little bit later, I would dare say most weeks you can throw Austin Hooper in your flex.
Yeah, I would try to float him out there, try to get a solid wide receiver 2 back, actually.
No
So
doubt.
you could get a little more consistent because the tight end position, it's hit or miss, basically. But Hooper's been really good for the Falcons so far this year. Kind of blew me away because he's a guy that I generally tried to avoid.
I was all in. On him.
Oh, nice call.
Yeah.
But yeah, going back to the Titans for a sec, like I think we saw without Keanu Neal there that without that strong safety, like the Titans are just able to throw all over the place. A.J. Brown, Corey Davis, both over 90 yards. That was unbelievable to me. I couldn't believe how easily the Falcons got dissected with just one guy out already.
Now, Marcus Mariota has a Marcus Mariota-style game, 27 pass attempts, which is good for him, which shows you that Atlanta really gave no fight back because Son don't really throw the ball no more than 19, 20 times a game. He throws 3 touchdown passes. Henry gets his 100 yards rushing. A.J. Brown could be out there on the waiver wires. What do you think of A.J. Brown moving forward?
Man, it's tough because he did all of his work on just 3 targets,
Yep.
and that's kind of what I just chase, our targets. And he's got 17 on the season. That's not a ton. So I don't think he's going to be – I think we'll see a lot of people chase him on waiver wires, but I don't think it's a wise move.
No, yeah, I agree. It's a small bid. Listen, with the bye weeks getting ready to start popping up and rocking and rolling, it makes it a little bit tougher. But like I said, I wouldn't chase those numbers either, especially on a team that passes the ball too few times. The New England Patriots and the Buffalo Bills yesterday, Tyler. I am a big supporter of Sony Michel. I'm starting to worry.
Yeah, I mean, he always worries me just because of his knees and his injury history and what we could see and the usage is what is so frustrating if you're a fantasy owner of him. James White did really well in the receiving game. Rex Burkhead was active. I think they had Damian Harris inactive for this game, so it's just a tough backfield to dissect. And I mean, that's like an evergreen statement considering the Patriots backfield.
You're right, that is evergreen. Brandon Bolden gets the touchdown. He snakes that from Michelle. Phil Dorsett, who a lot of people like. He was 2 for 10 yesterday. James White, Jimmy White back out there, gets the work done. Josh Gordon still looking good. On the other side of the football, we got Josh Allen in the concussion protocol. Interesting to see how that plays out. But old man Frank Gore puts up 109. Cole Beasley is a wide receiver I really like. That could be on waiver wires. John Brown does his thing. TJ Yeldon, I think, could be a name UEBC scooped up off the waiver wire this week a lot in PPR leagues.
Yeah, 4 for 68 for Yeldon. That was pretty surprising. The Bills' passing game it's going to be tough with Barkley moving forward. Hopefully this is just a short duration here for Josh Allen in the concussion protocol. But he looked rough against this Patriots secondary, which, I mean, I don't think it's bold to say the Patriots defense right now is playing better than the Patriots offense. Granted, they've had a cupcake schedule to start the year. And I think matchups are against Washington and Giants are the next 2 games or something like that.
Wonderful. Yeah, the NFC East and the AFC East are opponents this year. So that is coming. In Kansas City and Detroit loses at home 34-30. Detroit is a team that I was telling people to watch out for just because they have cohesion. Like they got a quarterback that's been – I would love to see what Matthew Stafford could do on a contender. But they got a quarterback who's been there for a while. Carry-on's running the ball well, 125 yesterday. No real stars on the offense. They just figure out a way to consistently get it done. Hawkinson made a couple catches yesterday. People talking about this Ty Johnson cat. I don't see it. But for the most part, you know what you get with the Lions. It's going to be Carry-on. It's going to be some Galladay. It's going to be some Jones.
Yeah, Carry-on had a frustrating outing with that fumble at the 1-yard line.
That was terrible.
That was, yeah. Carry-on was in my main cash lineup, and that I was beyond tilted on that. Seeing them take it back 100 yards when he was at the 1, that was brutal. But yeah, I like the passing attack. You kind of know where it's going too between Marvin Jones, Kenny Galladay, and T.J. Hawkinson. Hawk's just a tough tight end to play. You just have to base it on matchups. He's still a rookie. We need to keep that in mind. But this was definitely the ideal game to play, a paced-up game with the Chiefs. Galladay had a 3rd touchdown that was taken off the board, so I think that's worth noting. It was a ticky-tacky call.
Yeah.
Still ended up with 2 scores. Big day for him.
On the other side, Travis Kelce gets it done. And then you see McCoy with the touchdown. The kid, Darrell Williams, he had a couple rushes, a couple catches, nothing really to write home about. Mecole Hardman didn't get it done. He was in a lot of lineups this week. Sammy Watkins also. I think while Tyreek Hill and Damian Williams are out, I think this offense really becomes Pat Mahomes, Travis Kelce, and the rest. You could have Mecole Hardman last week. You could have Mecole Hardman this week.
Yeah, it's tough because, I mean, the way they succeed is through deep passing, and there just wasn't much of it happening this week. We have to give kudos to the Detroit Lions defense for that, keeping them in check that way. I mean, Mahomes was held to 7.5 yards per attempt. That's not normally what he's up to. So I think that was a good job by the Lions defense. But, I was all in on these different Chiefs receivers, and it was a really frustrating week.
That's what I'm saying. I don't think it can happen. I think if it's not Hill, you got to be careful. Obviously, you want a piece of the offense, but the pieces of the offense to have are Kelce and Mahomes.
Yeah, I mean, Watkins hasn't cleared 65 yards since week 1.
Exactly.
But he's still top 6 in receiving.
That's how big week 1 was.
Right. and I'm still chasing it because the volume's there, the targets are still there, and I'll keep burning money doing it. I don't care. It's gonna show up one of these days.
Oh, Tyler, me and Tammy Watkins have a long history of him stealing from me. Brissett throws 3 touchdown scores in a loss yesterday. Marlon Mack disappointing, 11 carries for 39 yards. Chester Rogers, who I played a couple places, he gets a touchdown, but only 3 for 48. Eric Ebron with a touchdown catch. Also, what did the Raiders do defensively that threw the Colts off, or do you think the lack of T.Y. Hilton was a major factor in this?
Yeah, Hilton being out, I think, was a major factor because he had accrued like 27% of the team's target share. He had 8 red zone targets compared to everyone else. They were just 2. The next closest had just 2 targets. So he was a huge part of their offense. Not having him definitely hurt them. The Raiders got out to an early start. I think that definitely hurt the Colts' game plan. Marlon Mack getting injured also added to it. I think it was just really impressive outing by the Raiders. I had to do like a projected game script article each week for Fantasy Guru. And this was one where I thought the Raiders could have a chance at upsetting the Colts. And they came out on the road and had a good game here. Derek Carr didn't do terribly. Josh Jacobs, again, near 0 in the receiving game. He had just 2 catches. I was surprised by this. I thought there was a possibility of the Raiders doing it, but seeing the Colts fall down, I mean, they were without Darius Leonard. They were without Malik Hooker. There were a lot of other questionable guys heading into the game. So I think the Raiders just found a good opportunity to pounce on a weakened Colts team.
Yeah, I think that was the case also as well. I still like the Colts a lot this year, especially in that division where everybody's going to be in the mix all season long. So the Andrew Luckless Colts, I still think are in a good spot here. Darren Waller is clearly one of the top tight ends in fantasy. He's a start every week. Is Hunter Renfrow adding a 12-team league?
2 catches, 18 yards. Man, I don't know. Like, I think this would have been the week to do it because I think it was J.J. Nelson that was out for the game. So it was already a thin wide receiver core entering the matchup. Didn't really do too much with that opportunity, though.
No, he didn't. Like I said, bye weeks are coming up. For the most part, it's tricky dealing with Hunter Renfrow, dealing with the Raiders offense, period. But I still think it could be some good days, but they're going to be very inconsistent. Down there in Miami, the Dolphins continue to stink. I'm not really talking. Listen, if you want to pick up Parker or Williams, fine. I'm not rostering no Miami Dolphin at any time this season, so it's irrelevant to me. Austin Eckler continues to do his thing. Keenan Allen, a down day for him. Dontrell Inman, a little bit of pop. The big story here is what happened when Melvin Gordon gets back on the field.
Yeah, it's going to be tough for fantasy owners because we got one final week of RB1 production out of Eckler before we have to bench him. I think he just falls down into like flex category now as like a low-end RB2, high flex play.
Well, that's where he finished last year as RB25 with Melvin Gordon on the field for 11 games. And, I agree. I think he's in that. I don't think he's like off to the bench now. He's not a handcuff guy. I still think he's a flexible play, and I still think we'll see some big moments from Eckler moving forward.
Yeah, I think you have to do it based on matchups. So they got a matchup with the Broncos next week. Not sure if that's one, but the following week with the Steelers, I think would be a good matchup to play him in.
Well, that's interesting. Carolina and Houston yesterday, Kyle Allen. Now that's Kyle Allen with back-to-back road victories, right?
I believe so, yes.
So you got back-to-back road victories for Kyle Allen. Then my man Greg Olsen was only 2 for 5 yesterday, so they kind of took him out the game. Christian McCaffrey is the stud that we all knew that he is. Nothing really much to talk about on the Carolina side. Houston in their 2 home games have looked terrible.
Yeah, and Watson's not doing themselves any favors. 6 sacks this week, 160 passing yards. It's not going to get it done. He had some big pass opportunities, overthrowing both Will Fuller and DeAndre Hopkins. It's a shame neither of those were completed because that could have led to a much bigger outing. But yeah, it's frustrating.
Is Duke Johnson cuttable?
If you need to, and you're in a pinch in smaller leagues, I get it because I'm not. He's not hitting my starting roster.
In a 12-team league.
No, I'd keep Duke just in case Carlos Hyde gets injured.
Yeah, he is Carlos Hyde. You wouldn't, but he can't be started right now, can he?
Duke, no. Carlos Hyde, if you're in a pinch, I mean, he's kind of performing really well. I hate to say it.
Carlos Hyde is getting this done. He's right now one of the top running backs in the NFL, which I have Carlos Hyde in a number of places. Like, I've never given up on Carlos Hyde. Like, Carlos Hyde has these swings like, oh, he's going to be the RB1. Oh, he's got some competition. He's going to get cut. He gets traded. So it's like it's ups and downs and ebbs and flows. But when the season starts, the guy is still a solid back.
Yeah, it's hard to dispute that because he's been producing on the ground, which is amazing to me with this offensive line and how poor they are. But I guess they're getting it done, run blocking at least. But again, Carlos Hyde just remains like a near zero in the receiving game. He had 4 catches, but they went for just 6 yards.
Yeah, no, that's not really a part. I mean, it's a part of his game, but not the way they use him in out there in Houston. One of the big upsets of the day, I actually had them in a parlay too. The Buccaneers. I parlayed the Buccaneers with the Cowboys.
Oh, that's a great call. The Carolina was the one upset I had with Houston, but the rest of the games did not go well for me.
I had Tennessee, and obviously, I had Washington yesterday too. I will never again. I promise you, opening line viewers, I will never again lay another dime on a DC football team. But now I had the Buccaneers in the parlay with the Cowboys. Of course, the Cowboys lose. You know what I'm saying? But the Buccaneers did win 55 points. I was anti Chris Godwin all draft season. I was like, there's no way that this guy lives up to second, third round production. By golly, he's living up to second, third round production. Mike Evans, I wouldn't. If I'm a Mike Evans owner, I wouldn't be worried. I think it's enough targets to go around. Jason Leftwich, Brian Leftwich doing a good job calling the offense. Jameis has seemed to settle in a bit. Listen, I don't want to overreact on Overreaction Monday, but the Buccaneers, put it like this, they're better than the Falcons.
Yep. We're seeing Winston actually move the ball. He's hitting his guys. He's hitting the right matchups as well. Chris Godwin in the slot here against the Rams, that was a good way to attack them, considering they have really strong perimeter corners and Marcus Peters, Aqib Talib. I thought it was a great game plan where they got Godwin heavily involved. He was just tough because he was a game-time decision up until like late Sunday. So that was a really tough call for fantasy players. But he came through, 12 catches, 172 yards, and 2 scores.
I saw where on DraftKings in the evening slate, he was 9% owned.
That's unbelievable to me.
Yep.
9%.
That's crazy, right? Especially with that matchup he has. The dude I used to work with last year at FNTSY, my man Chris Vaccaro, we used to give him hell because he had a hashtag that he used, Free Rojo, talking about freeing Ronald Jones. And I was like, yo, son is a healthy scratch. You know what happened with Ronald Jones last year. It's a joke. Ronald Jones not looking like a joke right now. I think he's going to be one of the top waiver wire ads of the week if he's not already owned in a lot of places.
Yeah, I've been recommending him loosely as a waiver wire bid, but you got to go hard for him now because he looked head and shoulders better than Peyton Barber. This was a Rams defense where they back off the run. They invite you to run on them. They'll dare you to run instead of trying to pass on them. That's their MO. And Ronald Jones took that and did really well with it, I thought. 19 for 70 yards, but he also had some plays called back. And those plays called back, I think, really hurt his bottom line. But if you look beyond the box score, Ronald Jones is the back to get for the Bucs.
All right. O.J. Howard.
That was my biggest swing in this of the offseason.
I know, son. I remember we did 50 podcasts in 50 days.
Yeah.
Talked about O.J. Howard on every last single one of them. And listen, a couple years ago, I had the Isaiah Crowell thing where I had Isaiah Crowell being the man and this, that, and the third, and Isaiah Crowell let me down. It happens. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
This O.J. Howard thing is it's quite pitiful. I don't want to say that he's cuttable, but he cannot be in starting lineups right now in 12-team leagues or 10-team leagues or maybe even 14-team leagues either.
Yeah, tight ends are a really gross position beyond like the top 6, top 8 guys. Like you said, man, he's splitting snaps with Cameron Brate. He's splitting targets with Cameron Brate. He's not running the routes we thought he would. It's frustrating. That's all I can say.
Bruce Arians hates him.
Yeah.
I wish Brian Leftwich liked him. No, listen, the kid is super duper talented. Like he can block like Jason Witten. He can catch like Shannon Sharp. You know what I'm saying? He's a tremendous physically freakishly talented athlete. But the system in Tampa is just not working for him. I would like to see him. They should move him, to be honest with you, to somebody who's going to respect the tight end position a little bit more. They could have drafted Dalvin Cook, and they drafted O.J. Howard. So why are they not using O.J. Howard?
Different coaching staff.
True.
It's frustrating. I would just say it's a good time to buy him in dynasty leagues.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
That's a good call right there. Seattle and Arizona. This was one of the blowouts on Sunday. Listen, we know what Seattle is. Chris Carson gets it done. Lockett, Disley thing is continuing to go on. On the other side, I never really got into the Kyler Murray thing and what the Cardinals will be able to do for fantasy. I think Murray's going to be fine. It's just not going to happen this year.
Yeah, I thought we'd always see him in these kinds of games where they were playing from behind and he'd be forced to throw heavily. And it's kind of happening. It's coming to fruition a little bit there, but I thought we'd see a little bit more from the run game. Last week was the first week he actually hit the ground running. So I think he had like 69 rushing yards. This week he had 27 and a rushing to score. So we're starting to see that come around in the playbook a little bit more. But man, it's frustrating as like trying to figure out which receiver to target because they're getting a lot of volume, but Fitz and Kirk just put up 2 duds this week, and I was amazed. I thought both those guys would succeed here against Seattle's slot corners.
It just was a poor performance from the Arizona Cardinals. When you look at Minnesota and Chicago, right? I had the Bears winning this game, and I'm not a big Bears fan. I think Mitchell Trubisky is a humongous problem, but we saw Trubisky go out yesterday. Montgomery, he gets over 20 carries. Allen Robinson continues to be the top target easily. I'm an Allen Robinson supporter. Chase Daniel comes in. He does a good job. If I'm a Robinson owner, I want Chase Daniels to play more, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I think Daniel is head and shoulders above Trubisky as far as a pass thrower, and we saw it this week. A-Rob could have hit the century mark. He had a play called back due to holding or some kind of penalty. But yeah, we saw that it was a really positive game for Allen Robinson against a tougher matchup with Xavier Rhodes in coverage. I think Daniel is a much better passer, and if this is a long-term injury for Trubisky, we don't know any of that yet. I think it's going to be a smart move to try to buy some Bears on the cheap right now.
No doubt, I think that is a good move and a good call by you. On the other side, it's nothing. It's the only thing more of a lock than Atlanta losing against the spread is Kirk Cousins disappointing against the NFC North team. And we saw it again, and I knew it was coming. No touchdown passes. At least he doesn't throw any interceptions, but he looked Kirk Cousins-esque. Dalvin Cook kind of got shut down yesterday. Adam Thielen also, not the biggest game from him. Steph Diggs goes off yesterday with his first big game of the season. I recently cut Steph Diggs. I'm of the mindset of, you know what? I'm not even fooling with the shit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Whatever. He can have his good game, his breakout game on somebody else's team because a player like Diggs, what happens is you keep putting him in the lineup because you keep thinking the week is coming. This right here, the way the Vikings are playing offense this year, what Diggs did this week was an aberration and not a sign of things to come.
Yeah, they are a run-first team. There's no doubt about that. And we saw when they tried to turn to the pass this week, things fell apart. 6 sacks for Kirk Cousins. It was a brutal day. I watched that game in full, and I almost fell asleep because it was pitiful for Kirk Cousins.
Why did you watch that? I never think that was on. Why did you watch that?
We divide all the games for Fantasy Guru when we break them down and try to go through them. And our trending article, trending up and down, and it was all trending down for the Vikings.
Yeah, no doubt. I'm about to say, man, the Rams and the Buccaneers was on, but I can dig it.
I drew the short straw.
Jacksonville and Denver. This is a short straw right here too, but there was some excitement down the stretch. Man, I really have liked the way Leonard Fournette has looked so far to start this season. I don't own him anywhere, but we also see consistent performances from Westbrook. DJ Chark kind of low this week, but 2 more receptions for Fournette, 225 yards rushing. Leonard Fournette, you got him. You got to be feeling pretty good right now.
I didn't actually go hard on Fournette, but he was a call that I liked this week for DFS purposes because he had been seeing a ton of snaps. He had been seeing a ton of touches from the backfield. We just didn't see it all come to fruition. And this was the week where it finally did. He just got held out of the box, the end zone. DJ Chark had a touchdown. I think it was called back.
Yeah.
So that kind of was frustrating a little bit as a dart throw there. Westbrook had his best game, though, 5 for 66. He's been kind of an afterthought, I thought, in this passing attack. So it was nice to see him bounce back. Gardner Minshew, man, he's been fun to watch.
Now, Gardner Minshew is a ton of fun. I like him a lot in what he's doing, especially as being somebody that's somebody who watches Last Chance U. I enjoy seeing Gardner Minshew. All right, Denver, the Royce Freeman breakout. Put that one on hold for another week, even though I think he's trending in the right direction. Just didn't go down this week against that tough defense. Emmanuel Sanders continues to be so impressive. Cortland Sutton getting the job done as well. But honestly speaking, the Denver Broncos are a shit show.
Yeah, with Flacco at the helm, it's rough. I mean, it looks good here, 300 yards and 3 passing touchdowns, but I don't think they really ever had a chance, though. Do you?
No.
Yeah.
I was on Jacksonville this game, and Denver came out home and had a good start to this game. But I think that Jacksonville was the thing. This Jalen Ramsey thing is interesting too. He goes down yesterday. He doesn't play. Says he's dealing with a back injury and stuff like that. Tom Coughlin wants him out the building. The owner is like no. It's rumors that a team offered the Jacksonville Jaguars 2 first-rounders for Jalen Ramsey.
You don't often see that for non-quarterbacks.
I know. The organization said that the team that made the offer is going to be drafting at the back of the draft. So that's why they weren't interested. That sounds like the Philadelphia Eagles. And we know that the situation that they have up front. This is going to be like an NBA thing. Ramsey is going to not play until they move him.
Yeah, I think this back issue, I'm putting it in air quotes because I don't really –
and I hate to say somebody's faking an injury, especially a professional football player, but Jalen Ramsey's faking an injury.
Yeah, he's waiting for the right contract to come around, and I'm honestly surprised that they turned down a deal for even if they're too late first. Jacksonville could definitely use those from the Eagles. Howie Roseman is a pretty good GM. I think he's one of the best in the leagues. I'm a little biased as an Eagles fan, but I think he does a lot of good moves for the team. Getting Ramsey, I mean, we saw on Thursday night that these corners for Philadelphia are terrible. Devontae Adams over 180 yards receiving, and he left the game early. He could have gone for more. They definitely need to make a move there in Philadelphia, and I think getting Ramsey would have been a smart move. I just don't understand why Jacksonville turned that down.
Now, do you think? See, if I'm an Eagle fan, I worry about what happened when they went out and got Asamoah.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That one kind of backfired, but this is a different group, a different era. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's hard to apples that, but I get that same vibe. I totally understand that when you go out and try to spend big money on a player and it doesn't always happen. That's the first thing you think of. Teddy
Bridgewater gets the job done last night. Saints beat my Cowboys. Alvin Kamara solid. Michael Thomas with a real good game. Listen, they didn't score no touchdowns. It was just put it like this. Teddy Bridgewater is not going to do anything for your fantasy team. But if you're a New Orleans Saints fan, you're in good hands until Drew Brees come back. On the other side of the football, Ezekiel Elliott, 18 carries for 35 yards. It was obviously they were trying to take him out the game. A lot of running on first down from Dallas. That's not normally Kellen Moore's style. We saw a lot of first down runs. I think that'll get changed. And as far as Dak yesterday, he throws the pick, no touchdown passes, no touchdown runs. And really, this game hinged on a couple of offensive pass interference calls on Amari Cooper.
Yeah, those and two key fumbles.
The fumble by Zeke and fumble by Witten also.
Right. Those were the key plays, I thought. It was a really tough battle. 12-10, it showed on the board. Teddy is what we thought he is. Entering the matchup, he had the lowest ADOT of all quarterbacks. That showed with dink and dunks to Michael Thomas and Alvin Kamara. I was really blown away that Kellen Moore didn't have a more aggressive game plan. If they're going to take away Zeke, why not go vertically with your guys? You got burners like Devin Smith, Amari Cooper. I mean, Marshawn Lattimore entering the game had the most receiving yards against him by any cornerback. I don't understand why they didn't go over the top and try to attack this defense vertically more often. That was a very puzzling thing for me.
Interesting. Next up for the Dallas Cowboys, I believe, is the Green Bay Packers. Aaron Rodgers, our arch nemesis, so Dallas is starting to get into the meat and potatoes of that schedule. Before we get out of here quickly, Monday Night Football going down tonight. The Bengals with no wins going to Pittsburgh to face the division rivals, the Steelers, who also have no wins. I'm of the mindset that an 0-3 team doesn't go 0-4 at home, but we talked about this a little bit before the season started. I had a feeling the Steelers wasn't going to be shit this year. And, it's kind of looking that way now. Now, Cincinnati's not been great either, but one thing Cincinnati does have is they got one of the top quarterbacks in the NFL right now in Andy Dalton.
Yeah, I think he was top 2 in passing yardage entering the matchup.
Second.
Second. Pittsburgh's been destroyed by opposing slot receivers, so I think we could see a pretty good play from Tyler Boyd here.
Mm-hmm.
John Ross might be able to get deep here against this secondary as well. I think it's actually going to be a high-scoring one. The total's 44.5, I believe.
Okay,
it climbed to 45. Yeah, I think that both these defenses are kind of struggling. It's up to Mason Rudolph if he can get this ball moving. James Conner's in a really good bounce-back spot. I think the Bengals have been one of the worst run defenses. They're allowing 5.2 yards per carry to opposing backs and 6 touchdowns to opposing backs in just 3 games. So I think Conner's a really good play here if you're doing any kind of showdown or Monday to Thursday kind of slate games. But we need Juju Smith-Schuster more involved in the offense, bottom line.
Yeah, no doubt. Obviously, he's the big ticket right here between these two teams. But I do like you said, I like Tyler Boyd a lot. I think Connor can have a bounce back night tonight. If I was to have to bet it, I would bet Cincinnati at plus 3.5. I would love them at 4 or 4.5 if you can catch that or buy that up. The total, the over 45 sounds good to me too. And then it's the Steelers money line, which is not. I think it's minus 170 the last I saw it. If you had to make one bet on tonight's contest, what would it be?
I like that Bengals plus 3.5. I like that one.
Yeah. It's just tough. I think the Steelers get the win, but I think it's a close call right there. But both of these teams, listen, I think I trust Andy. I was about to say I trust Andy Dalton. Ever since that Bengal fan was like, yeah, seen enough. But there you go right there. So Tyler, thanks a lot for hopping on and filling in for Benny today. Really appreciate it. At the end of every show, we give out a big piece of chicken. Today, my big piece of chicken goes to Nick Chubb for his 3 touchdown performance for a couple of my fantasy teams yesterday.
All right, mine would be Kenny Golladay. We saw a lot of targets the prior week. He only had 2 catches. Going back to the well here, he had 5 catches for, I think it was 70-plus yards and 2 scores. Could have had a 3rd touchdown. Still a big fantasy outing for him.
All right, for my main man, Tyler Buecher, I'm Corey Parson, the fantasy executive. To open the line, we are out.